Okay, so about 2 years ago, almost 2 years ago, I fell and suffered a horrific injury. 2 years ago, I could have walked in here and I wouldn't be giving you this presentation. But when these things happen to you, you're told that you'll never walk again. I've been doing a lot of research and a lot of traveling, and I absolutely believe that the dogma that spinal cord injury is not curable is untrue, and that with the right thinking and the right resources, people like me will be able to walk again in the future. Now, when people ask you, what does it feel like to be paralyzed like I am? I think about this little guy, or I found this picture, and it's a little bit like being feet encased in concrete. I didn't harm this guy when I was taking this picture. You're also told that you won't do a lot of things. I recently was the first quadriplegic in the world to complete an Ironman in Switzerland. And this is the final picture of us doing this. I suppose one of the other first things you do is you try and find out about your situation and how you can get out of it. So you Google it, right? And the first thing you find is that there's lots of data on this. There's lots of information out there, and there's millions of hits. And this is one of the first things you see. Ads telling you about cures for paralysis. So, amazing, right? Awesome. You just travel somewhere and I can get better. And I've called people up and they've told me, yeah, just come to Turkestan to hide the names of the innocent or guilty, and we can give you whatever you want. You'll be fine. Now, do they work? Well, would I be here in front of you if they did? No, sadly they don't. But I did something else. I did travel. I didn't travel to the clinics that I found on Google, not in the ads certainly, but I went to neuroscience conferences and I met neuroscientists. Some of them look a little bit like this guy with a spinal cord in his hand, but not all of them. I met them, I talked to them, I met the business people, I met patients, and the good news is that spinal cord paralysis is absolutely curable. We can do it in animals, and it's inevitable that we will do it in humans. But it's not all good news. It's going to be a long road. I'll go through a few examples of what might be slowing things down. Aspirin, discovered in 1900. If we discovered aspirin today, it wouldn't make it to phase 1 clinical trials because it's considered too toxic. Penicillin, probably the most successful life-saving drug of all time, if it was discovered today, would not make it to phase 1 trials because it's got too many allergic responses from people. Now, these kinds of things and some of the systemic problems associated with discovering new types of breakthroughs, I believe, are one of the reasons that cures for things like paralysis and many other diseases are not getting through to the mainstream, or not even making it to clinical trials. Patients ourselves, we are actually traveling and putting ourselves in harm's way. We're voting with our feet, and we're spending hundreds of thousands traveling to Turkestan and getting these injections, and they're not working. The regulatory regime needs to bear that in mind when they're making decisions. Another reason is that patients ourselves, we don't fight hard enough, and this is true all disease groups. I believe that the medical profession doesn't educate us correctly in what the science really is and what the future really holds. Other problems that I've found is that the funding of science is overly political. It's not based on patients' needs. It's not based on any of our needs. It's based on political desires and, where the money is perceived to be. Now, skin in the game, the title of the presentation, what does it mean? Warren Buffett is the richest man in the world. He gave all of his money to Bill Gates. The two of those guys are giving away all of their money. He came up with a term, and he uses it to describe companies he'll invest in. He'll only invest in people who have money, their own money, or their own well-being invested in their companies. Now, I believe I have skin in the game of a cure for paralysis. Scientists, researchers, no one else does. Now, money talks, obviously, in this situation. And just to put it in perspective, I think all of you guys, society has skin in the game of cures for paralysis and everything else as well. 20 million euros every year is spent treating spinal cord injury. That's 80 billion every year globally. AIDS, was a death sentence 20 years ago. Today, it's treatable because the AIDS activists. Now, when I came to Electric Picnic, this is a little bit what it's like. You see all these great acts like Crystal Swing, for instance, but I can't get into the stage because there's a step getting in, just like Christopher Reeve in that little thing. Now, I'm going to leave you with this. It's a quote from a very recent publication that treatment and injuries of the human spinal cord is no longer a speculation, but an observation. And I'm going to leave you with that because I think it's quite a powerful statement.